women who get together with other women are healthier, happier, and stronger.
Now we can make some figure eights with our hips. Figure eight, figure eight, figure eight, figure eight. Woo!
By the time I met Mickey, I had already contemplated suicide and I was developing a plan. That's how dark my life had gotten.
Because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me.
Welcome to Prime Time for Women, the show for and about women in their prime. We're breaking new ground today, stepping outside the box and exploring new ways of doing things. After all, that's what being in your prime is all about. Today, for the first time, I'm pleased to welcome a male guest to our show, Douglas A. Spotts, MD. Dr. Spotts is the Vice President and Chief Health Officer at Meritus Health. In that capacity, he oversees the operation of and provides clinical leadership to the 100 providers that make up the Meritus Medical Group. Dr. Spotts has 25 years of experience leading medical operations for healthcare organizations and is board certified in family medicine. He is a fellow and president-elect of the American Academy of Family Physician Foundation and a member of the American Association of Physician Leadership. Dr. Spotts joins us today to talk about Meritus's bold goals for community health, a 10-year initiative that seeks to engage community-wide participation and improve the health of every resident. Welcome, Dr. Spotts. Thanks for being here.
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah. So before we talk about the bold goals, how's it feel to be the first male guest ever on Prime Time for Women?
Well, I am humbled and honored, excited to share the bold goals with your viewers. But I want to remind your viewers and you that 80% of all healthcare decisions are made by women in this country.
Go women, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to need the help of all of your viewers for the bold goals.
Okay, well that's great to know. Thank you for sharing that. So you're here today to talk about this launch of the bold goals. It's a sort of an undertaking that requires lots of planning and lots of community input. Before we talk about the specific goals, can you just maybe mention some of the backstory, how we got to this point today?
Sure. Well, I am not doing it all on my own, of course. It's the team that you surround yourself with and by. Alan Twigg is our Executive Director of Community and Behavioral Health, and Alan is my partner in this work. Mm-hmm. And then you'll hear a little bit later that we have community co-chairs of the work also. This started before COVID, way back in January in the new year, and we brought over 40 stakeholders from the community, presidents and organization leaders, employers in Washington County together to Meritus to really talk about what they thought were the important health bold goals for the community. And we landed on the health bold goal of losing 1 million community pounds by 2030 together.
Okay, and I can't wait to hear more about that. But first, there are 4, as I understand it, there's 4 bold goals. Right. That's one of them. Could you mention the other 3 just so that our viewers have a sense of how big this initiative is?
Sure, this is around what we call the quadruple aim. So health, which I already shared, and health care, which is to be a zero harm organization, zero harm incurred. And then Joy at Work to be the, not just regionally, but the national employer of choice. Okay. And also for affordability to be the highest quality, lowest cost healthcare provider. That's
great. So Doug, we're going to be talking about this initiative to lose 1 million pounds in 10 years. Will Meritus work with community groups or businesses to do that, or how's that going to take?
Yes. So we already have been working with community leaders. We have a steering committee that meets monthly and has representation from a number of those individuals that were with at the January kickoff event. So the Community Action Council, the Chamber of Commerce, the Washington County Health Department, for instance, as well as Meritus stakeholders, just to name a few, the Federally Qualified Healthcare Center. We meet monthly. We have community co-chairs, Dr. Mitesh Katari and Maria Rubling, CEO of the Hagerstown YMCA.
That's great. Well, there's so much more for us to hear about this, but before we do that, I want to say that this community-wide goal of losing 1 million pounds will tell us all about how programs that we're going to initiate, specific nutritional programs and other folks that are going to be enjoying. We're going to hear more about that when we get back from this short commercial break.
14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
are their patients. Meritus Medical Group, home to your extraordinary doctor.
Okay, we're back with Dr. Douglas Spotts, our first male guest ever, and now he's going to tell us a little bit about the kickoff that's going to be taking place to celebrate the Bold Goals.
Right. Well, in our last segment, we talked about the fact that there was community involvement and community planning. We've also done planning at Meritus under a Healthy Meritus initiative around our own employee wellness. And we started with actually the end of July, a weight tracker to sort of get ourselves on the bandwagon and be leaders in this community-wide effort for losing 1 million pounds over the next 10 years. So we have a kickoff event on October 6th at 5:30 in the Robinwood Atrium. We are limited at that venue because of COVID to a certain number of people that we can have there, but we are going to have it on Facebook Live so that anyone can watch it.
That's great. And even if they don't see it at that time, they can go back and check it out.
Absolutely.
I'll put it on Prime Time for Women's website too. Yeah, we'll
Great.
do that. Yeah.
So the community, I'm really excited to share the community launch campaign is Go for Bold, Do, Eat, and Believe in a Healthy Washington County.
And I'm guessing each one of those represents something. Is that right?
You are correct.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the Do.
So the do would be activity and increasing your level of activity. So this morning, I with some of my teammates were at the United Way Day of Caring and doing some work at the Humane Society, trimming shrubs. So yard work, housework counts as activity. If you're fairly sedentary, just starting a walking program, increasing your steps. If you're doing 2,000 steps, maybe challenging yourself to go to 5,000 or then 10,000. Just getting more active. It also will have a component to know your numbers over time. As you can imagine, a 10-year campaign, there'll be different initiatives each year and excitement built around those initiatives, but it would also include knowing your numbers. What is a healthy blood pressure? Right. What is a healthy level to control your sugar if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic? All of this ties toward the fact that we are more obese as a county, not at our ideal body weight. And not just in Washington County, but then the state of Maryland. Right. And the same then goes with other chronic illnesses and, for instance, with diabetes. And so there's a Maryland statewide diabetes action plan. And the statistics are just there that we all need to be a part of this and work better at it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and I think that since COVID, people have been a little less active and maybe at home eating more. So that's actually adding to the problem. Is that correct?
Right. And so, under the do is that increasing activity. Under eat, it would be making healthier food choices, learning how to prepare healthier food choices, or access to healthy foods to begin with. So we know there are parts of our county, even in this beautiful, abundant agricultural county, where there are what we call food deserts, where you can't get healthy food. So it's partnering with the community around initiatives where we can bring fresh foods, work with the farmers markets. There's a community initiative that some of you may have heard about with the Community Action Council and Goodwill Industries to have a fresh food grocery store on Jonathan Street. And so we would provide some Meritus nutritional support services there, and there's going to be eventually the ability to do cooking and healthy cooking there.
Yeah, and under the EAT component, Meritus already has a farmer's market that comes to their parking lot, is that correct?
It comes to actually the Robinwood Atrium on Tuesday afternoons.
Okay.
During COVID, it had to be suspended for a little bit, but it is back, and so
Okay.
that is a one location, correct?
And maybe one of the things we could do is promote all the outdoor farmers markets so people know that they're there. I'm sure the farmers would appreciate it, but then people have access to that healthier food too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then under Believe, that really is getting at what you alluded to before during the time of COVID, but in COVID or out of COVID, the stress and stress reduction and how to practice more mindful living and how to reduce our stress. And so lots of activities around that as well. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that all of this, the Go for Bold, Do, Eat, and Believe in a Healthy Washington County, all points towards the community initiative of Healthy Washington County. So you can go to the Healthy Washington County website and you'll be able to get live updates with all of this information.
And also on that website, there's information regarding parks and where you can go to walk. And there's information about different businesses, initiatives that they're going to take on. I was going to ask you, I understand there's almost going to be a competitive aspect with businesses each offering wellness activities and helping their employees track weight loss. Is that correct?
Yeah, one of the exciting things about this campaign is a lot of people, a lot of organizations, including Healthy Washington County, have been doing a lot of really good work for years. And so our community co-chairs were involved with HEAL several years ago.
Right.
And so this is really also trying to tie together and I'd say amplify and magnify what many good things that are already going on. So there's been a Healthy Washington County Business Challenge. Alan Twigg leads Healthy Washington County along with the health department. And so how we can bring those groups together and sort of magnify the message is really what this is about. So yes, it's tracking our pounds lost and committed to be maintained over 10 years, but it really is about so much more.
So just tell us, how are we going to track these pounds? Is there a tool for that or a website? How does that work?
So you'll go to Healthy Washington County,
Okay.
and there will be a reveal on October 6th of the
Okay,
of the
it's a
weight.
secret until then.
It's not a secret. It's the weight tracker. So this was built out and housed. Built out by the Meritus IT department, and we've already used it internally for Meritus, and so Meritus employees sign in with their ID. It does not track your individual weight. It tracks cumulative pounds, so we know what we've pledged and what we'll try to achieve as Meritus. The same is true. They built this in a separate URL, and all of the techie information to protect you as an individual or as an organization or employer. So if you already have a fitness or wellness plan in your organization or as an employer, we're not trying through Healthy Washington County to tell you to change anything, but we're saying let's track cumulatively what we're doing in this community over the next 10 years to get to that 1 million.
Yeah, and I have to say this is one of my favorite parts of this plan of the BOLD goals is this idea that it's not about individual weight loss, but it's what we're accomplishing together as a community, by working together. And it makes it seem more like a team goal, more collaborative, and it holds us a little bit accountable to each other because we're looking at this number that we're generating together.
Yeah.
Was that part of the thinking when they developed these goals?
It was, and really from the get-go was part of the community thinking and the community input to this. So this is not about Meritus alone. This is really about our entire community. And I want to add to that it's not just for those of us who live in Washington County, but it's for those of us who live and work in Washington County. So it really involves our region. It's a regional goal. And you'll see exciting sort of progress downtown and other media spots as the campaign goes on over the 10 years of where we are and how we're meeting that. We were hoping to come into the October 6th event with 25 community partners and 150,000 pounds pledged. And then our community co-chairs want us by the new year to have 75 partners and 1 million pounds all pledged to get to that goal. We are already at 16 partners and 140,000 pounds pledged as of today. So this is truly a community effort.
So we're going to wrap up in just a little bit, but can you give a shout out to some of those organizations that have already signed up?
So we've had the Chamber sign up, we've had the Community Action Council, we've had the Y, the Commission on Aging, we've had Washington County Head Start, Alan and I are going out and meeting with Washington County Public Schools this coming
great.
Tuesday. We are open to anyone and everyone. And again, you will be able to either enter as individuals or check with your organization. If your organization isn't participating, get to us and we'll come talk to you.
That's great. I'd like to thank Dr. Spots for being on our show and for explaining the bold goals. I recently read an article in which Dr. Joshi, the CEO of Meritus, said the goals were based on of losing 1 million pounds emerged because of his concern and the health care providers' concerns for the link between health issues and obesity. By working together and sharing a common goal and really believing that this goal is achievable, we can make individually and collectively healthier, happier community. Rutger Bregman said, he's a well-known author and historian, and he said that humans are way more collaborative and cooperative than we give ourselves credit. He said, we become the stories we tell ourselves. So let's all start today telling ourselves the same story. We will successfully reach this goal together. Don't go away, we'll be right back after this next commercial break.
14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
are their patients. Meritus Medical Group, home to your extraordinary doctor.
The DVR. It's changed the way we watch TV. And now, Antietam Broadband takes you to the next level with TiVo. Find your favorites on cable or streaming video faster with voice-activated integrated search. Record up to 6 channels at once and watch from any TV in your home. TiVo from Antietam Broadband. It will change your life. Call today or visit AntietamBroadband.com to learn more.
Our previous guest talked about Meritus Health's bold goals and improving individual and community-wide health outcomes. Our next guest will share a very different strategy to achieve some of the same health benefits. Colin Berry joins us today to talk about the mutual benefits for both humans and animals of pet adoption. For more than 20 years, Colin has been involved in the animal welfare field. She has held multiple leadership roles at the state and national level, including 12 years at the Humane Society of the United States. She also worked in the field, responding to animals during Hurricane Katrina and puppy mill seizures. Colin first came to the Humane Society of Washington County as the development director in 2016 and is now the organization's executive director. Like me, she's a firm believer in the transformational power of stories. Thank you, Colin, for coming today and sharing some of your stories with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, sure. So your adopted dog is joining us today, sort of a living prop for your storytelling. What's her name and how did you pick this particular dog? How did she come into your life?
Well, this is Peanut. She is about 6 years old. Yeah. She's about 6 years old, and she's a toy poodle. And she really is one of those unplanned pets that so many of us in the animal welfare field end up with. She came in as a neglect case, and she was roaming the streets in Hagerstown. And she actually came to us in very poor condition, was brought to us by a very nice individual. And when we saw her condition and identified her family, we did have neglect charges involved with her. Curled toenails into the pads of her feet, abscessed teeth, very long matted hair. She was in very poor condition. So, of course, the second I set eyes on her, I thought that this was the perfect opportunity to take a little dog home to my neighbor who is learning to be a groomer and to let her do her magic. And Peanut never went back to the shelter. She was my foster dog. And over 3-4 months when we had her, it came time to decide, are you taking her back or are you keeping her? And of course, we kept her.
And how long have you had her now?
I've had her since October, so not even a full year.
Okay.
But it took her about 3 or 4 months to fully settle in and show her full personality, but now she really rules the house.
That's neat. So do you have other animals at home?
I do. We have dogs and cats. So
Okay.
she's the tiniest of all the dogs and cats.
Do they get along okay?
They do.
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
absolutely.
So you're passionately committed to animal welfare. Were you always, I mean, even as a little girl, was this part of who you are, or was it a career choice?
It was from the moment I was born, I believe. I was really raised by compassionate parents who made it very clear that animals had value. And they were not in the animal rescue field or protection field, but if there was an injured bird outside, they would go to great lengths to help it. I had a $5 hamster, and we're talking about parents who took that hamster to the vet for hundreds of dollars worth of care within a week of getting it. So they demonstrated over and over again that just because it's a small animal that may not have this monetary value, there's something special about them.
Speaking of that, especially during this time of COVID-19, there's been a lot written and even some research articles on the health benefits humans receive from caring for animals. I was wondering if you could talk about some of that.
Absolutely. Well, in addition to the obvious lowering blood pressure, helping individuals with depression, lowering cholesterol, we are finding more and more that, especially during COVID, that they have really helped with isolation. We even build some of our programs at the Humane Society off of that idea of the important bond between animals and their people.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about it, but it's time to take a short commercial break. But when we come back, you can fill us in on some of the Humane Society's programs, services, and adoption process.
Wonderful.
We'll be right back after this short commercial.
Years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read...
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
...are their patients. Meritus Medical Group. Home to your extraordinary doctor.
Welcome back. If you're an animal lover, you're going to love to hear what Colin has to say about the adoption process at the Humane Society of Washington County. Before we talk about the adoption process, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the article that was in, it was a whole section in the Washington Post. It was titled, Dog Days, How Canines Became Indispensable During the Pandemic. I was wondering, what is it about pets that make them so indispensable?
Well, it all comes down to the fact that these animals fill a void in all of us. We all have different parts of our lives where, we could use a little more, whether it's an emotional connection, a physical connection, and these animals fill that spot so well. During the pandemic, of course, with all of this isolation, there are so many people who, didn't have the benefits of isolating with an entire family. Right. They're alone. And for them, the only, other life they had to share their life with was an animal. So whether for dogs or cats, it's the same. I mean, dogs, of course, are notoriously more social, but cats, again, are perfect for some individuals who seek that type of companionship.
And just that physical touch has health benefits. I know I read an article that said isolation increases risk for diabetes, depression, dementia.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Self-isolation can do so many things. And when you have, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you're depressed or stressed, that of course lowers your ability to, fight off illness. So during a pandemic, that seems especially important to stay as healthy as possible.
And the Humane Society has a program, right?
We do. It's the Silver Safety Net, and it is a program for older individuals who really do only have their pet. It may be the only companion they still have left, and we work very hard to keep those individuals with their pets because that's their lifeline.
Right.
We have a food program with them. We have a vaccination program, and it's a program run by our field services.
During non-COVID times, do you have a support group for all those folks who are living with just a pet?
We do. We provide food through our...
No, I mean, do they get together?
Oh, do they get together? They don't, but they should.
Yeah, that would be a great thing to share their pet stories.
They absolutely should.
So I recently read a quote that I wanted you to comment on. It said, "People that say money can't buy happiness have never paid for a pet adoption fee." So, Colin, can you describe the joy people feel when they have the privilege of adopting a pet?
Absolutely. For some people, they think this is just going to be a fun companion, and they realize, again, that it fills a complete void that they never knew was there. And, we've spoken, too, about a few examples about people who didn't think they were a cat person, and all of a sudden, they're the crazy cat person now who would do anything in the entire world for their animal. Right. I think it is, it's just important to recognize that there is a true connection. It's real. It is not something that is just made up by animal fanatics, and hopefully everybody gets to experience that in their lifetime.
Yeah, and the research behind it is
it's
not made up, right?
It is.
And I will say my daughter, who lives in Brooklyn, has adopted a dog during the pandemic, and it has been this wonderful gift to she and her partner, her boyfriend. So it's really life-changing, yeah. So Colin, you and I discussed prior to the show the joy that people get from sharing pictures and photos of their animals. It's not only are they connecting with their animals, but they're connecting with other people. And out of that conversation, we kind of decided to host a pet photo contest, and the winner would be announced in November, right around Thanksgiving, and we were thinking about calling it Thankful for My Pet. I was wondering, as the executive director of the Humane Society, would you be willing to be the judge for that contest?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to see what people send in.
Okay, so we'll make that possible. If you are interested in, if folks are interested, they can send their pictures to Primetime for Women. We'll put them on our Facebook page. We'll tag the Humane Society and make sure everybody gets to share their lovely photos. So the Humane Society does a lot to get animals ready for adoption. I mean, it's a lot of work. Talk to me about that process and fostering and how they differ.
Okay, so when an animal comes in, we are immediately identifying them as an animal who would do well in the shelter setting versus an animal who might need more hands-on attention and time. Primarily that is, bottle kittens, moms with babies, maybe behaviorally challenged dogs who are just too shy and frightened, and the shelter can be a scary place for them. And so we have multiple groups set up within our foster program to care for those animals. We are always welcoming new fosters. This is the time of year when we have close to 300 animals out in foster care. And, it's a full-time operation to just keep that going. But whether you're a dog lover, an adult cat lover, a kitten lover, there is always an opportunity.
That's great. And how about the adoption process? What does that involve?
So before we get internally, when we're getting an animal ready for the adoption process, they are spayed or neutered. They are microchipped, vaccinated. We do behavior assessments to find out maybe, based on the information we have, what would be the best home for them, and try to set them up for success. So when they hit the adoption floor, we want to make sure people understand the kind of animal that they may be getting. We can't tell everything, of course. So many animals are straight from the streets, but we learn a lot and we take notes throughout to try to piece together this animal.
You're really looking for not just the animal to get out of the shelter, but for them to find a home.
Absolutely, the forever home. So we encourage people to come in, spend time with the animals, really do their research prior to coming in and understanding, exactly what can fit into their lifestyle.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. And who knew all the benefits of caring for a pet and all the work that goes into caring for a pet? But according to abundant research, nurturing animals can lower blood pressure, cholesterol, reduce anxiety, decrease loneliness, and increase opportunities for socialization. That's amazing. Especially during this social time, this time of social distancing, pets fill that companionship void. If you want to support Washington County Humane Society or want to adopt, foster, sponsor, or volunteer, check out their website today. And remember to check out the Thankful for My Pet photo contest on Primetime for Women's Facebook page. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay happy and stay healthy.